And the next lesson is our first knowledge area, which is business analysis, planning, and
Mindset.
monitoring. All right. What's in it for me? So we will see under business analysis, so business analysis, planning, and monitoring. Shall I call it BAPM?
Sure.
Did you understand? So how to plan VA information management and governance, how to identify business analysis performance improvements, and understand tools and techniques that will guide us in business analysis, planning, and monitoring. So we're going to do all of this.
Okay.
Introduction. So here are some pointers. Can you think of performing business analysis activities without planning and without determining how you will be monitoring the activities? I
No.
think the answer is no. What happens if you start performing business analysis activities without planning?
I'll be a mess.
Will be a mess. I mean, in short,
It'll be all over the place. Nothing's
do
organized.
you, yeah, do you think it is important to determine how you are going to monitor business analysis work and why?
Um, yeah, I think it's important to have a plan in place as to how you're gonna um, attack or how to handle the project. So as far as thinking who all you need to be involved,
Hmm.
how you need to go about eliciting those requirements from them, the different techniques that you would use depending on the type of or the group that you would be getting the information from. Is it a one-on-one? Are you doing workshops? So yeah, so it's the term. It's good to have an idea based on your overall picture um, of what the project would entail. Is it a big project? Is it a small project? Um, sometimes there's other BAs too. What is going to be their level of interaction, and how you're going to divide the work. So
Yeah, and I think it gives some view. I mean, you know it from project management perspective. It also gives view to PMs as to how business analysis has been lined up for next few weeks or month, so that you also have a comfort zone as a PM that yes, this is what the plan is. So let me align my resources accordingly, or if there is a shortage of resource, then let me see how things can be managed. I mean,
right,
I'm just sharing this because I've seen in most of the projects, project managers are interested in knowing uh, what is the business analysis plan, what are the milestones by when what you're looking for what. So if that is in place and you have already shared everything with the stakeholders that this is when you're going to engage them, this is the time that you require from them. You're also telling project manager that by this time I want to prepare, I want to conduct, and then I want to confirm the elicitation results, and this is how I'm going to store. So it gives a confidence level to everyone that we are in control of things, right? Rather than having no plan and just starting
right.
on the basis of. So rather than starting to work on BRD, it's good if you have a plan and a monitoring mechanism around that.
Right.
Cool. So how do you know whether the approach and technique used are effective?
Well, if you get some bad requirements, then you use the wrong choice. Um,
Mhm.
so unfortunately, I would think it's more until you're underway in the project, and if you're using a specific technique, maybe you could see it's not working. But in other cases, you don't find out until the end of the project when you have a lot of defects and rework that you know maybe you didn't use the right technique to get those requirements or to get all the requirements. So, you know, it depends on when you get that aha moment.
That's correct. So this is more about the monitoring part. Uh, I think the first three are on business analysis, and then these two are on monitoring part. What action should be taken to improve performance? Of course, you have decided in your plan that you will monitor around these metrics and KPIs. If anything digresses, you improve that.
Right.
What do you think? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So if you have a plan that where you're tracing your metrics of the requirements and them getting done, then you're able to hopefully see where there's defects or issues. And if you're in an agile thing, then it's a little quicker to get those turned around and fixed. If it's in waterfall, then sometimes it takes a little longer before you realize when you're going to be able to make that improvement.
Mhm. Makes sense. So let's move on to BA planning and monitoring.
Okay.
So what would a BA do when a BA planning and monitoring is done? So he will use a model here that we saw earlier
Right.
in order to create a BA plan, right? So he would look at the problem or opportunity, what is the size of that need actually, and then he would also need to know the group or individual related to change need or solution. He would need to know the stakeholders so that he can create the plan accordingly. Usefulness to a stakeholder within a context. So he understands the value that the high level requirements that he has got. What so he at this stage, what do you think a BA has got? He's starting with BA planning and monitoring. What do you think? I mean, you have a model in front of you, but in terms of real life artifact, what do you think he already has?
So usually I have some context as to what the business is looking for or what the overall ask is,
Mm-hmm.
or the system that's going to be changed. Um, Sometimes they'll know who the stakeholders are, who's the one that's asking for the project, and who's going to be involved to give you those the requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's for the most part
Yeah.
what you would have. The others is when you're going to be building. Then the stakeholders are going to say, of course, what their needs are. So I think.
So, yeah, I think you touched upon a lot of things. So this view that you're looking at is actually to guide business analysts to come up with a plan. So he should have view of the change that is happening, the need that is there, the stakeholders that might come into picture. So he should understand what all of this is so that he can create a plan accordingly. So he would require to detail out the need. Then he would also need the stakeholder list. He needs to engage stakeholder. So when he's creating plan, he needs to know the value that it will deliver so that he can he can also plan for the backed test cases, right? The context, he should be knowing that it's a regulatory framework, I mean, the regulatory requirements. So he needs to be very cognizant of the fact that there might be certain deadlines by when this analysis need to be complete or this project need to be delivered. So his BA planning should consider all these aspects, right?
Right.
So solution is something which is not upfront available because the requirements have not been gathered, but he needs to be cognizant of the fact that once the requirements are gathered, there will be certain solution design in order to meet those requirements. So he need to count in, or he need to make provisions in his plans for those discussions also, right? And then change the act of transformation in response to needs. So he also need to have a change management process as a part of his BA planning uh, document,
Okay.
right? So with this in view, a BA will move to his tasks. So I want you to look at the inputs and outputs first, rather than looking at inputs, task, and outputs. So we will look at the inputs, and then we will see what is the output of BA planning and monitoring. And then we will see which tasks actually lead to these outputs using these inputs. So the sheet that I was talking to you about is actually this one, wherein you can have a tab which says business analysis, planning, and monitoring. And on that tab, you can have inputs, and against that input, you can have tasks and outputs. It's not that straightforward, because you're going to see the guidelines and tools that can be used, and the techniques and the elements or the concepts that you should be aware of. Right. So input, tasks, and output. So as an input, so I think we touched upon this. I'm just moving away from this slide because I want you to do a little bit of brainstorming. So BA planning and monitoring, I think you said that he should have a high level context of what is going to happen,
Right.
right? So that is there as a business need, right?
Right.
And then there will be certain internal stakeholders who would have influence, and certain external influences, like external stakeholders.
Right.
So basically, he need to understand all of that so that he can come up with a good plan, because he need to engage with stakeholders. So I wish I could hide the task, but I don't know how I can do that.
That's
But
fine.
let's see outputs. So what comes out from this knowledge area is BA approach. So at the end of this, you have come up with a BA approach as to how you're going to perform your analysis, and the next approach is how you're going to engage your stakeholders. Governance approach, information management approach, how you're going to manage the information that is going to flow while you are doing your analysis. And lastly, the business analysis performance assessment, how you're going to assess your performance as a business analyst. Right. So what goes into this output? So with need, internal and external influences, you perform, plan. So actually you plan business analysis approach. If
Okay.
you plan business analysis approach, you would come up with BA approach. If you plan stakeholder engagement, you would come up with that approach. You plan governance, you come up with that approach. You plan BA information management, you come up with that. So each output is aligned with a task that is performed on these inputs. So let's look at it in a little detail.